everyone. Good morning. It is a nice rainy morning where I'm at. It's probably a little bit weird for you guys seeing me up in the morning rather than later on in the afternoon, but I had some time in the morning. I had some ideas flowing through the brain, so we're gonna get started with our stream a bit earlier than usual today. But I think that'll be fine. And today is an exciting day as we are going to start making our starter type Pokemon. Now, there is a little bit of a interesting dilemma though. Originally, I was going to have a fire, water, or I was going to have fire, rock, and steel. Let's get off this brown for now. And steel be our types. So obviously, steel beats rock, rock beats fire, fire beats steel would be our type chart, or like our triangle, so to speak. But I was thinking a little bit more upon it, and maybe I don't want to go this route. I still 100% want to keep the rock type. Because the rock type Pokemon's what we're going to be working with today, and it's what I have the most ideas about. So our rock type is actually going to become a rock water type. So then it kind of made me start to think, well, what if I just had the starter types come back in later? So instead of the starter types being primaries, they become secondaries. So for instance, the steel type could be steel grass. So it eventually does turn into one of the starter type Pokemon, like the starter triangle, but it's just in a little bit of a different way. And I kind of like that idea. The issue is fire then. So with fire, I would have to change that to a different type. And it's not easy to fit fire into this current type chart or like a different type into this setup. Because the things that are good against steel is going to be ground, which is also good against rock, and fighting, which is also good against rock. So fire was the only option I had. So, with that being said, if I want to keep the rock water Pokemon, I have to switch the fire and the steel type and make a different triangle. Now, there's a couple different ways I can do this, okay? So, instead of having it be I could have it be rock flying and fighting. Alright, so rock beats flying, flying beats uh, fighting, and fighting beats rock. And I think that's probably the direction we're going to take it. So instead of us having the aforementioned types, we're going to go with this type triangle instead. So let me just go ahead and write this out for us. All right, so it's going to be rock, fighting, and flying. And then if I want to do the secondary types thing, I think they'll just be like extra on the side. So our next dilemma, right, is because I do want, we'll make the secondary types green for now. No, we'll make it pink. Pink sounds good. Okay. So we know this one wants to be water. That one's set in stone. I already have the concept, and as soon as I'm done going over this with you guys, we'll start working on said concept. But then our next question is, where do we put fire and fighting here? Or fire and grass. So obviously, I'm going to probably have to put grass or yeah, grass here. Because we already have 3 firefighting types. And I really don't want to double up. But we also already have a grass fighting type, and we have a grass or fire flying type already. So that is one concern I was having in terms of going with this type chart. But then I got to thinking, okay, a little bit. What if instead of this, I did like rock, poison, grass? But rock, poison, grass has our dilemma of grass type being there again. Because rock's weaknesses are going to be steel, water, grass, ground. So those are the 4 types that I have to work with. So what if we did ground then? So rock, ground. And then what does rock beat that ground does not? Flying would be the like obvious answer. But I also don't know if I want to mess with immunities on this. So I'm like, a little iffy on that one. But that is an option. Our next like idea for that is that's honestly it because it's just water, grass, beats, and that's actually the other part. Flying does not hit rock for super, or other way around. Ground does not hit flying for like any damage, and flying doesn't hit ground for super effective damage. Because that's kind of what the type chart is supposed to be, or the type matchup, like your starter choices, is supposed to kind of teach the type chart with your starters. So you want a triangle, so to speak. So I think this is going to be what we have to do. Unfortunately. Or what if I do keep grass as like a base thing? But then I got rid of fire for that very reason. That's a toughie. So these are just some of like the decisions that come up when you're designing these games is you have to come up with the hard calls, and it doesn't always work as neatly as you want it to. What I could do, no, ice and rock has no relation in terms of ice attacking a rock. Rock does not have an ice resistance, so I cannot use that. So, you know what? What we'll actually do is we'll get rid of this and this. Because I don't want to work with those types, I don't think. So what we'll actually do is we'll do the rock, but rock's not super effective against poison. Let me think about that. Yeah, it might have to be the other one. Well, if that's the case, I kind of want to... Then, if that's the case, if I do have to stick with flying... Okay, yeah. So I will stick with the flying and fighting. So we'll stick with flying and fighting. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of the idea of having the type chart, like water grass, be obtained later. We're just going to get rid of that idea. It is not worth it if I'm set on this concept, because it's the only thing that's set in stone. And since I'm set on this, I want to make sure that everything else is good. So what are our additional types going to be? So we have a rock water type, so I do not want to repeat any types for the future. Meaning, so other thing to keep in mind, right, is we have predominantly physical types here, which I know that it's been a long time since that's just been purely physical special in terms of the type damage and matchups. But our Pokemon here are primarily all physical types in the Ye Olde system, which is kind of an inversion or flipped on the basic because usually they give special moves to your starter Pokemon. Now we're just a little bit backwards. Now, what are we going to do with this? All right. What does that change about our design process and philosophy? I think what it does is it allows us to kind of spec into special types for our alternative types because we've already done it with water. So, because you kind of want your starter types to be, or starter Pokemon to be a little bit balanced. I know more modern design decisions kind of goes away from that quite a bit, but I think I want my starter Pokemon to be a bit more on the balanced side. So you kind of get to pick and choose what you want. So if that's the case, I'm going to have. We'll do electric and ground. Alright. So. Do we have a fighting ground Pokemon? I don't think so. Oh, no, we do. Great Tusk. Great Tusk is fighting ground, but that's like a Paradox Pokemon. And then, is that it in terms of fighting ground types? I believe it is. But ground is also predominantly a physical type anyways, so that doesn't work. Because I was thinking flying electric, alright, would be kind of a cool combination. I know we actually have quite a few flying electric types. What if I made it fire electric? Or fighting electric? How many of those do we have? 0? I don't think we have any. Yeah, so let's try it. We'll make our first flying electric type Pokemon. Oh, also, there's another thing I want to talk about in just a sec. So I believe, we'll talk about it now. I'm going to try and design a whole 120 Pokemon. Brand new for this region. We will, of course, have returning Pokemon, and we will have variants, and variants, I will let you know, are not going to be a part of this 120 number. 120 is going to be brand spanking new Pokemon for as long as we're doing this. So yeah, that it's gonna be quite a bit. I have an idea of what I want for variant Pokemon as well, but 120-ish new Pokemon is kind of gonna be our goal. We may fall short, we may go over. It just depends on how we're feeling as we go on. But that's kind of like our elusive goal for now. Now, with this being said, so fighting electric. So this is gonna be electric's gonna be really good here. But what do we want our flying type? So we want to keep it special. We could make it into an ice type. Or I could make it a fairy type. What else? I could make it a fire type. I don't want to make it a fire type. I could also just have it be pure flying. Just not let it have a secondary typing. There's not many of those in the game. And I was thinking of a concept for a flying type Pokemon. We'll leave this on the back burner for now, but it might just be mono flying. So my concept was kind of like a cloud Pokemon, because we don't really have many non-bird flying types. Like, there's some, like Gliscor and whatnot, but I kind of wanted to experiment with Pokemon that were more airborne. Granted, if we are going for the special typings, that could be. We'll save the pure fly. We'll save the flying or the cloud Pokemon for later, because I actually have some ideas that are like brewing just now that could be really, really sick. And I can't do that with the starter, unfortunately, because I don't want to break all of the conventions of the starter type. So we're not going to do that. So it's not going to be pure flying, and I don't want to keep it pure flying. So we'll keep to the special idea, and your special type shall be what? I could just make like the ultimate support starter. Make it grass type. Make it psychic type. Flying psychic type. Flying dark type. I could do flying dark type. But what about flying psychic type? I kind of like the idea of flying psychic type. Because, like, with the exception of rock, like this one, it does, like, do the double thing that we were talking about. We'll do it. We'll do water or flying psychic. But honestly, this one is up for change as I come up with. So we'll probably design it here first, then the fighting electric type, then we'll design this one last. And we are going to go in order. So that's going to be our type matchup. Let me make a new canvas. We'll reference that as we go on. But now we get to the fun part. Making our first starter. So it's going to be our rock water type. Now the concept for this is going to be a spider. Alright, so the base form or base creature we're basing it off of is a spider, okay? But what I want for it to have is I kind of want it to eventually become a landmass, somewhat similar to Torterra, but more whole-encompassing and one solid object rather than Torterra being a giant plot of land. This is going to be a rock spider. So it's going to be rock. And why I'm making it a water type and I'm so set on that is I want for it to have little craters. So the idea of this region, right, that we talked about yesterday, is lots of meteors fall into the Starfall Peninsula, hence its name. So I wanted this Pokemon to have a lot of little holes or craters on its surface, and those get filled up with rainwater, eventually making it a water or rock water Pokemon. It kind of seeps in and kind of merges with the Pokemon. So the first form is going to be Mono Rock, and the second form will be a rock water type. And for how it kind of looks, so I was gonna go with a like kind of a bulky fat body. I don't want it to be too arachnid like. I'm being very loose. So you could also say crab like as well. That wouldn't be a inapt description. So I want its body to be like a big kind of shell, right? Kind of like something like that. All right, but it breaks apart its limbs, right? So we'll make like a psh. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Like that. Like that. To make its legs. And then we'll make one more set. And then I'll have another set of 4 of these on the underside as well. So I'll have like 4 overarching legs, 4 underarching legs. So kind of like let's give me more space than that. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll just make this a circle for now. But then we also have 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, with those being said, and we'll make this like dotted to show like halfway point, these are going to be more kind of like the crabs from Pirates of the Caribbean, where it kind of like they themselves are an oval for the most part, but then they crack open to create the look of the spider. Now, I think I'll have them have a little bit more thin kind of limbs and appendages just because we have to fit 8 of them, and we may go down on that number if it is needed. But that's what we'll do. Then we also have the little tiny craters on the top. So we have like little, let's make this gray. Actually, we'll make it blue because that's what it's going to turn into eventually. So we have little tiny blue craters. Whoops. Little tiny blue craters. And we'll have little water droplets in them too. Okay. So we'll have little tiny water droplets just chilling all throughout the spider. And then let's give him some eyes. Let's kind of make his facial defining features. Now, whenever you're making a cute creature, bigger eyes is usually better. Okay. So we'll have big eyes. Big little anime eyes. And I apologize for my atrocious drawing skills, but it's what I got. And I am just using a mouse. I don't have like a little thing. And then what do we kind of want the face to look like? So it'll be like that-ish. And then I'll have, we want it to be cute because it's a first form. So Joltik's like a good example of that. So Joltik just has the eyes and it has like the little tiny ones on the top like that. But I don't know if we want that because we don't want to borrow too much from Joltik. And that being said, I kind of want to, that's too big. Let's redraw this eye. Or these eyes. Okay, so if that's our shape, we want, what do we want? Because Joltik has those big, maybe we make it a one-eyed spider. That could be an interesting idea. Okay, so if we make it a one-eyed spider, yeah, we'll make it a one-eyed spider. We don't have enough Cyclopses in Pokemon. I kind of like that. Okay, okay. So one-eyed spider with little tiny craters, crater puddles. And then we have its legs, which will be like kind of spindly. I guess it's kind of similar-ish to Surskit when I'm thinking about it. Except instead of it being a bug type, it's a rock type. And then typically spiders don't have antennae. Joltik goes for kind of like the tick look as a baby. And then we'll have like a little, whoops, it's not even the same blue. We'll have a little tiny, like streams coming from it. Something like that. Yeah, so there'll be like little tiny streams like going down from the spider. Whoop. And when it evolves, so this is like kind of the idea for the base form. Okay. We will get rid of this. We don't need it anymore. So that's baby form. And when it gets bigger, it'll actually shoot water webs from the back, from its backside. So we'll give it the multi-segment here. So it'll start to look a little bit more spider-like, like this. And what I want for the second form is, so I want it to be able to be a ball that transforms into, so it'll have like a, this will be its first segment, something like that. And this will be its second segment. So it kind of like pops up, right? And then its legs just kind of like come out of like here. Let's draw that a little bit better. Okay, then I want this. And I want this. So it'll be way smaller than that. Like this. A little bit bigger. So it'll be that. Something like that. Yeah. And we'll get rid of this. Something a little bit like that. And then it's one little eye. Maybe we'll give it multiple eyes as it goes on. And then it starts to gain, like, change its legs like that. Because one thing I want to go back to a little bit is keeping it, all these Pokemon, a little bit more creature-like, as opposed to more modern Pokemon kind of turning them into humans. Wasn't as bad in Gen 9 as it was in Gen 8. Gen 8 turned like everything into a human, and I was not here for it, if I'm being 100% honest. Uh, so probably go back to more creaturist designs, stay in the realm of fantasy creature setting. So then with the middle one, it's kind of supposed to be like the awkward stage, but we'll have it look like bam, bam. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And then cool. We'll have it have way more water coming out. It'll have like whole streams. It'll kind of be mountain-esque later on. So little water streams. And it'll have a bit bigger legs. Maybe we make it actually have smaller legs. And it starts to rely more on the water to get places. That could be interesting. I'll have to think about that one. And then the eye will be something like that. Let's make a little tiny. Boop. I like how this. So it turns its legs into like watery kind of streams and moves around like the Legend of Korra. What if we do something like that? Maybe that'll be the final form. And then for the final form, we'll make it pretty epic looking, I think. So it's going to use lots of water for its legs. Yeah, so I think I want to get rid of its legs that's like during the middle form, or like make them really small. And then we'll have the full spider form. Like that. And then we'll go back to the blue. I think I need to change its orientation from this actually, if it starts doing that. So what if instead of this, we make it the ball with the head on top. Oops, sorry, hiccup there. Like that. And then the water it uses comes from like this, 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 that. And then we have its eye will be like, this whole thing will probably be its eye, actually. Whoops, I want the black. So that whole thing won't be its eye and it'll be able to move. And we probably make this even more rugged looking. So instead of it being like the nice little oval that we have, it'll probably be something more like until we get to the eye up top. Hold on. Something like that. Something like this. And then we can mess around with like the actual shape and whatnot later, but this is just concept idea. And then it has like these little like kind of geyser looking. Yeah, geysers. There we go. Alright, geysers, and it actually uses them to move around. It'll have like water legs that it can control and bend to its will. Yeah, something like that. And let's give it a little bit of texture. Yeah, and sound effects are 100% necessary while I'm doing this thought process. Don't even like worry about it. And there. And let's get a little bit of an outline. So it's like this is where I really wish I had the drawing pad. Texturing and doing all that stuff would be so much easier with it. And like actually having more fluid movements, but it's fine. And we make it kind of a big pupil. All right. So that's kind of my idea for it, is to turn it into something like that by the end. Now, very, very basic concept art. Like I said, I'm not the greatest of drawers, but so we start here on the baby, then we go to the middle awkward one. Its legs get a little bit more shrimpier. It starts to have water pouring down more on the sides, and then eventually we get to this beautiful behemoth, which is our, I don't know, crater spider, geyser spider. Now, we will end this stream off with the names. All right. So what are we going to call them? A quieter? No, because you're more of a rock. So the first one wants to be hard set and kind of rock. So what do we call the rock? So there's like taking arachna, right? Spider. Terracne. So I guess terracne kind of works. Sure, it's earth, not rock, but it's fine. Terracne. These will be open for changing in the future because I don't love terracne, but it works for right now. And then this is when it starts to get the water. So you could be a Quieter. Quieter. And then we haven't really incorporated their eye, like them being Cyclopses in very much. Do I want to, though? Is that the direction we should take? Guys ops. No. Spy. Guider. No. We also have things like. What if we made it look wider? No, I kind of want to stick with rock rather than going hard. Like, a quieter is fine because it starts getting water attributes. But I think I want to go back to the rock basis. Rockiter. Rock Spider. Spider Rock. I mean, that's like so on the nose. Would I like seeing Spider Rock? I mean, there's like Sandygast, right? Buzzwole. That's kind of what they do nowadays, but like, I guess Charmander is also kind of similar to that. Rakiter. I guess we'll stick with Rakiter for now. So you will be Rockiter. It is kind of iffy making one of your starter Pokemon a spider Pokemon because I know people don't like spiders, but you know, it is what it is, and it's the idea I had, and it's what I wanted to do. So let me save these real quick. So we have Rakiter. We have... Oops, not what I meant to do. Then we have Terracne. And Quieter. And last but not least, I guess what we started the day with, we have the starter type chart. Yeah, and that should do it for that. So, that's our first concepts for Pokemon. Tomorrow, we're probably going to go back to the Nuzlocke, and it might be another early morning stream, because I do have stuff I need to do in the afternoon tomorrow. Might be earlier than it was today, but, you know, it is what it is. If you're going to stream an hour a day, you kind of got to move and be flexible with where you put the streaming. And it may also be this. I know not tomorrow, but the day after that, we're probably going to go back to doing a little bit of the Nuzlocke. Just so I have some time to kind of think about these ideas, go over them, come up with new ones, and all that good stuff. But that's going to be it for today. I think I will also, before I sign off, I'll probably try and put these streams, like these design streams, onto YouTube. So then they're like actually archived, like forever, as opposed to the like non-archiving of Twitch where it only stays for like X amount of time. Just so then we can have it'd be cool to look back at the earlier design process and see what changes happen as we get further and further in the project. But for now, that's going to be it. This was day 15, pretty much half a month, a little bit less than half a month, just because months are weird. But yeah, day 15, day 2 of designing, and we had our first starter Pokemon set up. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.